My parents, they lived on and off in the UK since they were teenagers. My mom basically grew up in the UK and my dad came to the UK when he was 17. After they got married in Iran in the early 80s, they couldn't come back to the UK because of my granddad's health. So they continued to stay in Iran, but because of the post-revolution restrictions that were imposed on travel, it was very hard for them to go back and live in the UK again. So they decided to stay in Iran until I was old enough to go there for my further education, and they sent me over, and my brother and them soon followed, and we started living in the UK again. My brother and I were really focused in arts. I did performance arts and art history, and he focused on architecture and music. My mom was a translator and she worked from home. My dad actually did really well in his business. He was awarded a gold medal prize in Iran for his innovation and the introduction of his product to the market, because it helped rebuild a lot of earthquake-affected cities in Iran. When we came to the UK, I think my dad tried to move his business to European bases and have a commerce with Europe as well. But after a while, I think he thought that it was too much work and he decided to sell his company and retire early. He was always a family-oriented person. We did make the trips back and forth to Iran regularly because both my grandparents are there and our extended family is there. So we never really thought twice about it. My dad left in August 2017, and I think he was planning on staying in Iran for maximum a month, because my nan had planned knee surgery and she would have been bedbound for a couple of weeks. So he thought he would go and kind of nurse her and get her affairs in order and basically be with her until she was well enough to hire a nurse that wasn't full-time. The day of his arrest, he was at home and he was going to go buy some groceries for my grandma. So he goes out of the house, and as he's walking down the street to cross the road, a van pulls up and asks him his name. He goes, "Are you Anoosheh Ashoori?" And he says yes, and they immediately put a bag over his head and push him into the van. And I think it was until 2 days later when he managed to ring my nan from Evin to say that he'd been taken, and that's how it all began. For the first 4 months and something, he was in solitary confinement. So we had no idea where he was. I think once he called my nan, and obviously his phone calls were being controlled, and he said, "Oh, don't worry about me." And that was that conversation. And one time when he rang, I remember my nan said to him, because we thought we should go to Iran and see what's up. But then you don't really know if that's a good move or not, in case, because we didn't know why he was arrested. So when my nan talked to him, she said to him, "You know, don't worry. I think one of the kids or Sherry are going to come back to Iran and sort this out." And he actually suddenly broke from that. They do tell them that they're being held there for espionage. They keep telling them that they're spies. The information that they use to tell you that you're a spy is so ridiculous. For example, my dad, because they went through all his photos on his laptop, there is a photo of my dad in London with a friend of his where he is holding a pint of beer and cheersing his friend, and the beer is Greek with Greek writing on it. And they showed him that photo saying, "This is proof that you've been to Israel. When were you in Israel?" And my dad's like, "That's not Hebrew, that's Greek. And that's London. And if you go to the location of the photo on the computer, it says London." They do threaten your family members. So they would say, "We have someone looking through your wife's window in a blue car." Or they would say, "We've got someone going to your daughter's business and trying her goods, and if you don't cooperate with us, he can hurt her." They would threaten him with these things, which is ultimately why he tried to take his life 3 times, because he wanted the threat to us to stop. That was the worst for me, because I was like, if you know my dad, and to think that he was taken to such a low mental level that he had to do that, that kind of hit really hard for me. After about a year and a half of my dad being in prison, we did contact the Foreign Office in the UK finally. The reason we didn't do it beforehand is, first of all, we didn't know if they could help. We didn't know if they would be interested, and we didn't even know if it would help my dad's case if we contacted someone from the UK. For a very long time, the UK Foreign Office made sure to tell us that there was absolutely no connection whatsoever between the prisoners being taken and it was completely different. They were dealing with it in their own channels, and that it was being dealt with appropriately, and that if we kept quiet and that we carried on just waiting, they would fix the issue for us. So we couldn't really get hands-on, and that affected how my dad was treated during lockdown in prison, where a lot of prisoners were furloughed. Almost half the population of Evin prison was furloughed, and my dad had to stay in prison. And that was because we weren't loud enough yet in the media, and we'd followed Foreign Office advice to keep quiet. And that was the point where I think both my mum and brother agreed with me that we need to just be loud regardless of who we're loud to.
Free Anoosheh! Free Anoosheh! Free Anoosheh! Free Anoosheh! Free Anoosheh! Free Anoosheh! Free Anoosheh!
So that's when we changed tactics, and that's when we became more firm and we stood our ground. And then came the next challenge, which was my dad not being a media magnet, as you would like to say, and as we learned. So everything that we did or said came with a stigma behind it of us being this Middle Eastern family that were going through something. I actually remember we were in front of the Foreign Office and we were chanting my dad's name, and we were saying "Free Anoosheh, Free Anoosheh," and a journalist came and he started to interview Richard, who was there to support us. And we said, "This is, can you interview us as well? This is our protest." And he said, "No, sorry, you can be in the background. I can blur your signs in the background, but we won't. My bosses have sent me here to interview Richard." The thing with the UK media is that if the media is on something, if it's getting clicks, as they then called it, if it's getting the clicks and if it's selling your news, then they would want more. If it doesn't, then they don't want more. And the less they want, the less the government is interested. No one wanted anything to do with that Middle Eastern guy that was there. And I have letters of MPs saying that they couldn't help us. We did a small documentary with Gabriella where we made cookies for my dad and for her mom, and that was really well received. And you know, throughout the years we did do things together that ultimately brought my dad's case up to a point as well. And it was thanks to Richard and thanks to his innovative thinking and, you know, how to bypass things.
Nazanin Zaghari Radcliffe and Anoosheh Ashoori are back on British soil. The pair touched down at an Oxfordshire military base late Wednesday night.
It's been very emotional, but also a really happy moment for the families, and I'm pleased to say that both Nazanin and Anoosheh are in good spirits and they're safe and well back here in Britain.
I think when people go through trauma, they have a part of their brain or emotions get unlocked that you cannot satisfy unless you help people who are in the same boat. And I think that's going to be with us for the rest of our lives, because as much as I said to everyone, the moment my dad is back, I'm going to stop my activism, I'm going to stop doing all this and live my life as a normal human being, I have not stopped to this day, and it's been 2 years. More than 2 years. And I think the only way that you can make sense of what happened and the years that you lost is to put that energy into good use.